The city of Baldur's Gate is in desperate need of a hero, and only one man can fill that role. He'll use his inhuman speed to cross impossible distances, his body of steel to resist world-shattering blows, and most importantly, his uncanny luck to save the day. Thus continues the legend of Thelonious Monkfisto. But before that, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe and check out the last 2 acts here. Now on to the video. Our hero finds himself just outside the city proper, taking it easy for the evening when all of a sudden some ghastly Githgoons show up out of a portal to jump us. Initiative starts and we hop too, quite literally. We leap past all these chumps and head straight to the astral portal where our dream visitor is calling for aid. We arrive in time to see our dream visitor about to catch some hands, so we jump into action. Thelonious downs an elixir of heroism, not that he needs to be even more heroic, and joins a fight between a couple of Gith and a horde of friendly intellect devourers. Our turn comes quick, and we manage to get a good old thwack on one before stunning striking them as well. The intellect devourers follow us up by absolutely shredding the unstunned one, though they in turn get a little beat up too. The next round goes strikingly similar, with us unable to finish off the Gith we're bullying, but still stunning them, and our cranial companions get their ranks thinned down even more. Thankfully, on our next go, we take out the first of this dastardly duo, and our last remaining brain boy avenges his pals a couple turns later. Now that's sidekick material. Regardless, we trudge onwards to the giant god skull and take a quick break with a potion of angelic reprieve to get our juice back. And since we're taking it easy, we start studying up on what other heroes are capable of too in Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a completely free-to-play mobile RPG with incredible graphics and over 800 unique champions to collect. There's countless ways to customize and build these champions too to really make them your own. And if you sign up now using either this QR code or the link in the description, you can get a huge head start with Lightsworn, an epic champion that helps keep your team standing strong, and you'll get Juliana after reaching level 15 in-game, another epic and an insanely powerful boss killer, all from my favorite faction, the Sacred Order. If that isn't enough, you can also use one of these 3 promo codes to get yet another epic champion for free. There's Oboro with code Getoboro, who gets stronger the more debuffs are on enemies. Kellan the Shrike, who has powerful AoEs and can be got with code Raid for Kellan, and Mordecai, a powerful fit on any team that can burn away enemy HP with code Raid for Mord. On top of one of those codes, whether you're a new player or returning, if you use code Iloveraid, you'll also get the rare champion Preserver, who can decrease your enemy's defenses by a ton. To redeem any of these codes, just hit the button on the left side of the screen and select the promo code button before typing your code of choice in. So make sure to click that link or use the QR code on screen to join up and get 2 epics for free, plus use a promo code for a third of your choice and code Iloveraid for yet another rare. Once you're in, don't forget to join our clan Truant Souls and look for me with my username The Truant. And then we enter the fight. Turns out our dream visitor is actually a mind flayer called the Emperor, and even stranger, our villain senses are tingling around him like wild. Either way, we side with him for now, rushing into combat to focus on the more immediate bad guys, and god dang, these guys got hands. Let's just move on to attempt 2. Before we head back into the fight, we precast Blur using a scroll to help keep ourselves alive. Turn 1, we get a successful stunning strike on this bozo, followed by a very nice flurry of blows before retreating backwards as usual. The baddies entirely ignore us, choosing instead to blow up the Emperor's henchmen. Our tentacled pal doesn't take this lying down though and gets a killer double stun on a couple of them. Unfortunately, we completely fail to finish off the foe we were beating up even after knocking them prone and making our chance to hit 94%. And the enemies start to take notice of us too, which is real bad, especially since this knocks us prone and we lose our blur. Now we've really got to think about just surviving, so we go for a stunning strike on the closest goon and try and make some distance. We learn the hard way, however, that it straight up does not matter how far we move. Thankfully, they follow up that incredible leap with some unincredible whiffs. Then Thelonious gets another stunning strike off on the leaping leader and finally finishes off the low HP goon. And we top up our health for good measure. Good thing we did too, because these henchmen are really laying it on heavy now. On our next turn, we use wholeness of body to heal up and get an extra bonus action, and we show off our mad skills by missing not 1 nor 2, but 4 whole attacks in a row and then sauntering over to the edge. Another round goes by with pretty much everybody missing each other, but soon after we get a good couple flurry of blows on one of the fellas and take him out. The Emperor seizes the momentum and dominates one of the other surviving fellas, but he's getting worryingly low on health. Especially so since the fella has stillness of mind and breaks out of it, before the Emperor triggers an opportunity attack crit, which is not ideal. And we can't land an attack if our life depended on it, which it does, but neither can the enemies apparently. It's just Whiff City out here. But that doesn't stop our mindless mind flayer from triggering even more critical hit opportunity attacks. It's do or die time, and boy does Thelonious know how to save his heroics for the last moment. With an insane double crit flurry of blows, we take out the last goon, and now it's just the head honcho left. Since we're out of key points, we just focus on healing up ourselves and the Emperor by chucking some healing potions at both of our feet. We spend our next couple turns beating them down slowly but surely and almost go down when they get a strong crit and a regular old hit, but thankfully the Emperor finishes them off with a Chain Lightning. Wait, hold up, a Chain Lightning? You mean one of the strongest AoE spells in the game? Why would you save that for when there's one guy left? Whatever. After the fight, we have a quick chat with the Emperor and learn that he's staving off the influence of the Absolute by using Orpheus's power and keeping him imprisoned. Now, naturally, holding a man prisoner isn't very heroic, so we put it in our list of things to work out and get our first item upgrade from one of the Gith. The boots of Uninhibited Kushigo are replacing our evasive shoes, and they have the simple effect of granting us bonus damage equal to our wisdom modifier on our unarmed strikes. Not a complicated effect, but the extra boost to damage is nice enough to lose out on a bit of AC if you ask me, especially since our hit and run strats keep us out of attack range most of the time anyways. The next morning, we head down into the outskirts of the city and find a young whippersnapper who's lost their mom. We give her some of our cheapest grub, then we hop on our merry way with another innocent helped, where we encounter one of our greatest roadblocks, a stubborn guard and a drawbridge. But Thelonious uses his super speed to pull a flash and just vibrate straight through the solid wood with the help of a potion of flying. And just like that, we've made it inside Worm's Rock, where good old Gortash is getting coronated as Archduke. Our villain senses are going absolutely haywire. I mean, just look at this guy. Who knows how many crimes he's committed? Although, at least we know they weren't fashion crimes. He offers to work together with us if we take out Orin and then rule the world with him afterwards. We play along for now, but make no mistake, we'll be coming back for him. At last, we arrive in the titular Baldur's Gate, where we have another encounter with this nerd from Act 1 who tried to hunt down the Night Song on behalf of Heroically, the ruler of this big ol' wizard tower we find ourselves outside of. Thelonious manages to shoo him away, and thankfully that's the last we'll see of him. Regardless, we've got to have some words with Heroically, so we head up top and get the 411 on him. It takes us all of 5 seconds to decide we're gonna rob him for all he's worth, and then come back with Aelin and do another superhero team up on this guy's spine. Starting, of course, with robbing him for all he's worth, because that's what heroes do. And of course we read the Odd Powerful Arcane book too to make sure we get every power up we can. Unfortunately, one of these treacherous tomes actually curses us a wee bit, but once we get outside we use a scroll of Remove Curse on ourselves and end up with the Tharkiate Codex Blessing, which grants us a free 20 temp HP at the end of each long rest, permanently. Now that we've got a bit more money in our pockets, we head to the Circus of the Last Days and talk to this little Mephit fellow to procure a statue of ourselves. I mean, it costs 5k gold, but every good hero has a statue of them. Apart from it looking absolutely gallant, it also gives the Sweet Stone features permanent buff, which is essentially a permanent bless, granting another 1d4 to all of our attack rolls and saving throws. And our shopping spree ain't done yet. We head to Heroicly's tower and use the goods we stole from him to haggle our way into getting the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. This bad boy is some clothing that increases our AC by 2, lets us regain 1d4 HP whenever we succeed to save against a spell, and to top it off, whenever an enemy misses us, we can make an unarmed attack against them as a reaction. This is why we bumped our dex up to 20 prematurely at level 8. With this, we're increasing both our survivability and damage output by a pretty large margin, and our AC is now a base of 24. And we're still not done. Now we're off to Anthardi Danthalon at Danthalon's Dancing Axe, and this magnificent merchant supplies us with the Horns of the Berserker, the final piece of our supersuit. For now. This helmet will be replacing our haste helm, which means we'll be a little slower at the start of fights, but in exchange we get +2 on attack rolls to damaged foes, as well as an extra 2 necrotic damage on our melee attacks so long as we don't have full health. But if we don't deal damage on a turn, we take 1d4 damage ourselves. Either way, with this, our supersuit is pretty well finished, with the exception of one more upgrade we'll get much later. And of course, a good supersuit is color coordinated, and a special shout out to the vest, which has 4 extra capes built into it. Now we're really ready to save some lives. But before we get around to saving the whole world, we gotta have a training montage first. To start, Thelonious puts the ghost inside of the hee hee ha ha funny amulet we got from Act 1 to rest, and gains the ability to cast Tasha's hideous laughter at will. Then we gallivant about the sewers, beating up the odd serial killer and blowing up half of the sewer system itself, which is probably an okay thing to do if you consider all the jobs it creates for the community. After all this, we get enough experience for a level 9, granting us an increased proficiency bonus up to +4 and advanced unarmored movement, making it so difficult terrain no longer affects us, and we can jump an extra 6 meters so long as we're unarmored. On top of that, we get key resonation punches, which are basically normal unarmed attacks that give enemies the resonating condition, allowing us to spend a key point detonating them and any other nearby resonating enemies for 3d6 force damage. Now, this does give us a way to use unarmed attacks while still wielding weapons for the extra effects, but only if the enemy isn't resonating, which I found to be kind of a pain, so we ultimately just went forward without any melee weapons. Especially since our martial arts damage die also goes up to a d8 at this level. The training montage continues with us beating up the rudest dude. Oh, and also also breaking up a gang fight at the same time. That's totally why we fought these guys. Then we go off and sneak into a bank. I swear it was just to stop a bank robbery, since for some reason they didn't seem to believe that we could handle it. But we did. Just don't look too close at all the blood around the place. And while we're taking a rest, we find out that the motherless kid from earlier was kidnapped by Orin, and the only way to free her is to kill Gortash. Not that we need more motivation for that. But before we get around to dealing with that problem, we noticed a big old palace in the city that caused our villain senses to go off. So we head over to check it out and get stopped by the very obviously brainwashed guards on the way in. So we hear their brainwashing the old-fashioned way and continue inside. Once inside, we find Cazador's sinister Cazador, which very clearly needs something special to unlock it, but hey, at least we know we're on the right track. I mean, if even the doors are sinister. To unlock it, it's just a matter of sneaking into a dead girl's room, tiptoeing around her necrotic corpse, stealing her dictionary of a dead language, then beating up the resident old man who is not but bones and yoinking his family ring. Back to the sinister door to open that bad boy up and, oh no, I feel I've interrupted something. Sorry fellas, I'll just be, oh god, they're attacking. Well, there is a lot of them and it does initially look pretty scary, especially since the rats can open doors. Our key resonation allows us to do some, pretty funny stuff that makes most of the fight a breeze. Once they get detonated, it's just a matter of a few more rounds and a couple more punches. And a moment after that fight ends, we get level 10. With this level up, we get yet another 1.5 meters of unarmored movement, making us even speedier, and believe me, we'll need it. Plus, we also get purity of body, which makes our impeccable bod even better with immunity to poison damage and the poisoned condition. This feature comes a little late in the game to be genuinely useful, since there's only a couple fights in Act 3 where it has any use at all, but better late than never, I suppose. Continuing our journey, we find some prisoners being held in the depths of the house who've been turned into vampire spawn and are begging for their freedom. Thelonious doesn't leave any poor souls imprisoned though, so we go to confront the lord of the house Cazador Sar and put this issue to rest. The fight starts and he hits us with a supercharged blight, thanks to him being in the middle of a ritual that empowers him, before running on up to us in mist form, and yeah, that's the whole fight. Ooh boy. So that wasn't great, and that was with an elixir of necrotic resistance too. Round 2, we summon Scratch, and our best boy gets the drop on him to distract him, so we can at least get one turn in. But it kinda just breaks the whole fight. Even once we join, Cazador's ritual never actually starts, and without his ritual sources, he's kinda just a regular spellcaster, not a supervillain. So we reload an older save to make sure we have a worthy opponent. The next go around, we try starting the fight by casting a global invulnerability scroll, which breaks the fight in the same way, so I guess we kinda have to let Cazador maybe one-shot us if we want any sort of challenge. Since the biggest challenge we're having is Senor Sar one-shotting us before we get a go, we try using an elixir of vigilance for an extra +5 to initiative. We approach him the old-fashioned way, the ritual starts, and we go first. We start by stepping on one of the ritual sources, granting us the benefits instead, which is 10 temp HP and 1d10 extra necrotic damage per source. Then we cast Globe of Invulnerability to make sure we keep alive, before downing in a necrotic resistance elixir for some extra future-proofing. Next round, we zoom across the arena to the weakest link of the ritual, a level 1 zombie Asterion with 10 HP, and when an opportunity attack is made against us, we learn a neat trick. Thanks to our robes, when the attack misses us, we get to make an attack in response, and that triggers our extra attack feature, essentially granting us one free bonus attack this turn. Thelonious takes out Zomsterion and dashes over to the next furthest ritual source, further weakening Sar. The rancid rabble rousers we're up against all waste their turns dashing on over to us, and at the start of our turn, we take a buttload of damage thanks to Cazador's stank aura. Step of the Wind Disengage is the real hero of this fight, with its ability to give us infinite jumps and get us out of binds. We use it to get out of the way before casting Sunbeam with a spell scroll, which not only helps clear out all the goons, but it also creates an invisible sunlight aura around us if Cazador is fool enough to get close to us. Then we use our Mad Hobbs to get far away to a source at the opposite side of the room. A bit of a problem arises when the vampiric villain resurrects Asterion on his turn and reconnects him to the ritual. To get around this, we do a bit of a repeat of last turn, but instead of sunbeaming, we throw a bomb on the crowd after getting out. Then we use the extra bonus action Asterion source grants us to heal and take him out again. It just keeps happening though, but thankfully Papa Sar is using Call Lightning now, which is a dex save, and thanks to evasion and our robes, that basically means we're healing off of it. To deal with this Asterion problem once and for all, we Step of the Wind Disengage over to him, use the extra bonus action to kill him, stuff his corpse in a bag, and use our super speed to run him straight to camp where Sar can't reach him. Problem solved. Now on future turns, we can finally go back to our Disengage plus Sunbeam dance to thin out the horde, and always making sure to end our turn on a ritual source. That is, until old Shatterteeth makes us fearful and makes himself priority number 1. So we mix in a Wholeness of Body one turn to get both health and ki back, and use the extra bonus action granted by it to bully the old fellow. Cazador starts to resort to physical violence when he realizes his spells just aren't cutting it. Sunbeam continues to decimate his forces, and Chatterteeth goes down all in one round. Next turn we blow up some folks with our key resonation and finish off most of the rest of the goons with Sunbeam. One more turn and one more resonating boom, and it's just us and the big Seaman himself. He continues to pointlessly call lightning on us while we zoom around, taking out all the sources one by one while he screams bloody murder. Once all of his little power-ups have been taken away, the head honcho falls soon after. Even in the face of first turn one-shots, Thelonious prevails. And we got a new record for our longest fight with a whopping 46 rounds. Then it's a matter of putting the big man to rest for good and using his staff to free all the innocents nearby, all in a day's work. With one supervillain out of the way, it's time for our team up with Aelin against Leroican. We tell her that he's trying to capture her in the same way Ketheric did, and she's immediately off to his tower. We arrive after her just in time to hear the roast of a century, and then we throw down. This fight really isn't too hard. The only thing we need to worry about is Leroican's elemental retort, which deals a bajillion damage if we hit him while his elemental myrmidons are still kicking. So we just go after his conjured cronies incapable of counterattacking in any meaningful way. Well, Dame Aelin gets shown up by a literal puppet on strings. Truly impressive. Leroican is nice enough to heal us up every now and then too by spamming fireballs, which is awfully sweet. And we make short work of all the elementals before too long, without them dealing any major damage to us. Once they're out of the way, we check to see if this wily wizard knows Featherfall. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. In typical Aelin fashion, she decides to start monologuing and oh my god, what is she doing? Oh my god, well, that's Leroican done. Now it's time to start going after the big bads, starting with Gortash's police force, since the only force of justice this city needs is Thelonious himself. Along the way, we encounter our old friend Volo being lynched, so we intervene before things get too out of hand. This fight is pretty straightforward, but the numbers are against us as usual, and if we're not careful, we can get caught out of position and get got. But as long as we're cautious, we can just shoot Volo's chair to free him and slowly pick down the enemies one by one until the fight is dealt with. After all we've done for old Volothamp, he finally decides to join us in our camp as our man in the chair. About darn time. Continuing on, we arrive outside the steel foundry, where we go invisible to sneak inside. Once inside, we meet up with Gondi and Xander Tubin, who lets us know they're being forced to build the Steel Watchers, both with explosive collars and families that are being held hostage. He agrees to help us revolt if we free their people first, and unfortunately we can't ask him to stay out of the way, so we're off to the Iron Throne. We beat up some bad dogs along the way and commandeer a cool submarine by intimidating its driver. While we're en route to the underwater prison, Gortash rings us up seeming genuinely hurt by our betrayal, which, I mean, like, we're a superhero, man, what did you expect? Anyways, he threatens to blow up the Iron Throne with everyone inside if we don't turn back, but he clearly overestimates how long this is gonna take us. With our sidekick Scratch at our side, we down a potion of speed and get to work. Thelonious goes full super speed, using a step of the wind dash to increase our speed and give infinite jumps, and we hop around to free every single prisoner in the place in one single turn. We also use both of our actions to dash, putting our base speed up to 126 meters. Given that our jump distance is about 11 meters and it costs 3 meters of movement to jump, that means we can move approximately 462 meters in a single round if we jump our max distance every time. And since a round is 6 seconds long, that means we're moving 77 meters a second, which translates to 172 miles per hour or 277 kilometers per hour. Okay, admittedly we don't save everyone on turn 1 because this person requires a help action to rescue, but we get everybody else. Everyone starts doing their best impression of Thelonious and zooming towards the exit, while the flummoxed fishfolk fellows are left in the dust. Next round, we free the person strapped in the chair, and oh my god, oh good lord, that's a piece of their head. Oh, I can see why they were imprisoned. We should have left them here. We should have never freed them. What have we done? We hop around and stun some more enemies while leaving ourselves in the wide open to distract and refresh our speed pot. Scratch ain't just sitting around either, as he manages to lock one of the Sahuagin inside a cell. Good boy. The aberration prisoner begins to, move, approach closer. Oh god, she's coming. Oh, please, run, escape. On future turns, we take one from our sidekick's book and start closing the gates on the guards to trap them in. And before you know it, everyone manages to escape and make it intact to the submarine. Everyone. I honestly can't believe how well that went, nor how fast Thelonious could really go. Talk about super speed. We head back to tell the factory workers the good news and start the revolution. And they die. Yeah, they die real fast, but at least we saved the people in the prison. The folks downstairs also get a wee bit blown up, but that's not our fault. We do at least complete the quest, though. Thelonious becomes an Avenger again and takes out the rest of the factory guards on this floor with the old hit and run, as well as an unfortunate Steel Watcher that got pulled into the fight. Once the fight's over, we make sure the Gondians' deaths weren't in vain with the help of a Speak with Death scroll, and we're off to the basement to deliver the death blow. As soon as we arrive in the basement, 2 Hellfire Watchers immediately come barreling towards us. But on our turn, we down a potion of flying, start beating up on the generic goons, and then just fly up to the rafters far out of reach. The enemies really struggle to do anything meaningful so long as we keep this up. The Watchers can jump up here, though they don't do so often, and when they do, it just gives us the opportunity to do a buttload of falling damage to them. With the help of a few key explosions, a good few dozen bloodlust elixir-fueled punches, our flying potion, and of course more explosions, the fight finishes up without the enemies able to do a darn thing in return. During the fight, we also hit level 11, which grants us Tranquility, making long rests give us Sanctuary afterwards. This feature is almost entirely useless to us, and it's all we get at this level, so there's not much more to say about it. The extra HP and key point is always nice though. Continuing to the final room, we enter a fight with the factory's magnum opus, the Steel Watcher Titan, and 3 more Hellfire Watchers too. Thankfully, the Watchers are all ranged, meaning our deflect missiles makes us feel a whole lot safer. So we start up the old hit and run strat, beating one of them up pretty good before moving into the corner of the room to rinse and repeat on future rounds. The Watchers predictably miss, firing only 1 shot each, while the Titan fails to curse us and instead makes sure our health is topped up. One of them starts to blow up and we get a little spooked and make the mistake of ending our turn next to a different one which blasts us with Hellfire, which can neither be resisted nor mitigated in any way. So we heal up with wholeness of body and start getting our revenge with a couple flurries of blows. On their turns, we get some good use out of our deflect missiles before the one we bullied decides to end it all so we can't get our hands on it. Worth mentioning, the Steel Watch Titan is kinda just watching all of this go down and has resorted to hurling threats at us while its pals blow up around it. We pull yet another silly billy move and end our turn too close to a Watcher, which means we get a free Hellfire shower, but we also get an attack of opportunity which sends it into explosion mode. Now that just the Titan is left and it can't seem to go up these stairs, we have absolutely zero problem bullying it over the course of quite a few rounds until it too decides to free itself of the incredible nuisance that must be fighting Thelonious. Our reward for beating this steel machine of death is Gontr Mael, a +3 longbow that we have proficiency with thanks to our race. It also sheds light in a 6-meter radius, has a chance to inflict the guiding bolt condition on enemies, essentially granting our next attack on them advantage, and has a special shot once per short rest, which has a chance to frighten and make all future shots do 1d4 extra radiant damage for a few turns. But most importantly, it lets us cast Celestial Haste once per long rest as an action, which is the exact same thing as haste, but it only lasts 5 turns and doesn't make you lethargic after it ends, so there's no real risk to casting it. Because of that, we'll be sticking with this bad boy for the rest of the run. Before we can take our spoils and go, we input the code to blow the place to Kingdom Come, and use our impeccable super speed to get out of dodge. This footage actually had to be slowed down so the human eye could even comprehend what it was seeing. With the Steel Foundry down for the count, it's time to raid Worm's Rock Fortress. We bulldoze our way past any of Gortash's forces that get in the way, with them standing no real chance, especially with a Bloodlust Elixir on our side. Once we make it to the top, we cast Celestial Haste on ourselves and jump into the fight with Gordy and his pals. On our first turn, we get an immediate stunning strike on the talentless Tyrant, followed up by blowing up the trap that gives him resistances and pummeling him a bit more. The baddies don't do much but surround us, which just means we gotta whack at them to trigger our mobile feat, and keep Gortash stunlocked with another strike, and a good flurry afterwards on him just for old time's sake. The real kicker comes when one of the goons manages to get a command halt on us despite all of our bonuses to our wisdom saves, which gives Gortash enough time to go Super Saiyan and summon his big ol' hand. To make matters worse, the enemies also managed to land a good couple stabs on us. Thelonious uses Wholeness of Body for a power-up of her own, as well as a Step of the Wind disengage to get out of this bind. Thankfully, Gortash also summoned a bunch of low-health ghosts, which buff him and his allies, but also make for great Bloodlust cannon fodder. With our extra action, we whiff a stunning strike on Gort, but a trap shoots out a grenade, so we blow it up to help weaken all the goons. Someone was awfully inspired by that move and gives it a go themselves, but our evasion makes it so we don't take any damage from the explosion. After taking out another ghost, we stun Gortash and bully the ever-loving crap out of him, because the boy has just way too much temp HP from his transformation. Another round goes by, and between our mad saves and deflect missiles, we manage to avoid anything bad happening to us. And when it makes it back to Thelonious, we take out 2 more goons, leaving just 1 left, with a combination of punches and key explosions. With action points to spare for a stunning strike on Gortash, who must have a hell of a concussion by now, as well as some more throat punches while he's still reeling. We take out the last goon a turn later and keep the short-lived Sovereign stun-locked until he joins the rest of his momentary Mayfly Kingdom in the Great Beyond. While we loot him, we grab his Reflecto Guards, which are surprise tools that will help us later, so keep an eye on them. We also grab his cool little rock, which we'll need to take on the giant purple alien threatening to destroy the world, and hey, wait a minute, I've seen this superhero story before. Now that we've dealt with Gortash, we head back to camp and find a note from Orin giving us the passcode to her cutthroat cultist clubhouse called the Murder Tribunal. Thelonious zips on over there and we find ourselves face to face with Sarevok Anchev, a ballist who almost brought Baldur's Gate to ruin a century ago. With a villain like this in front of us, Thelonious has no choice but to throw hands. The fight kicks off and Sarevok comes immediately charging at us. Thankfully he misses and we start wailing on him in turn, but he's a tough cookie with 3 tough henchmen who all buff him up. Worst of these buffs is haste, which lets him actually stand a chance at keeping pace with us. Even on the turns he dashes, he can still reach us and deliver some deadly heavy blows thanks to his extra action. As with any fight, we start by thinning the horde, even though these guys grant powerful permanent boons to their ballist boss when they die. Either way, with a wholeness of body, step of the wind disengage, and flurry of blows, we start chipping away at one of them. We also head pretty far to the other side of the arena. Not far enough, however, as Papa Anchev still reaches us with only 1 dash used. Thelonious might be facing an impossible foe, someone who can actually keep up with him. Thelonious lands a rebuttal blow, but our chance to hit is too low for my taste, even with an elixir of heroism active. We then go after the goon who had casted haste on the boss man, and despite breaking their concentration, he's actually immune to the lethargic condition, so not much happens. We just bite the bullet and finish them off, granting Sarevok a permanent haste. To make sure we don't have problems running away, we throw down a speed pot on ourselves, but make the mistake of doing it on some stairs. Pro tip, don't throw potions on stairs, especially when you're out of movement. Miraculously, the big guy just runs up to us and ends his turn. I honestly have no idea how this happened, but I'm not gonna look a gift Sarevok in the mouth. We get our speed potion benefit, destroy one of the other henchfolk giving a permanent +6 AC to the reverse Thelonious, and we throw a potion of flying down so we can zip up to the high ground and heal up with a potion there. With us in the corner of the room, Anchev is actually forced to pull a Mario Kart and double dash, which means even though he reaches us, he can't swing at us. On our turn, we take out the last remaining blood-drenched bozo and give the big guy one final boon, letting him heal 2d12 each time he damages anything. And we zip on over to as far as we can go while still in the room. It works out and another double dash is forced. Seems like at least with a potion of speed and flying, we are the superior speedster. Only problem is he's got Sanctuary on him from one of his goons before they passed, so we conjure up an angel with a spell scroll to force him to attack something other than ourselves. And once on the opposite side of the room, we cast the actual spell haste with another scroll since our potion was about to run out. The plan works perfectly. He goes after the angel, breaking the sanctuary and leaving himself vulnerable on our next turn, where we use an arrow of Ilmater to prevent healing from his attacks and absolutely lay into him as much as we can. He stays distracted for one more round, dealing heavy damage to our conjured companion, but letting us repeat the same cycle as last turn, taking him noticeably below half health. After that, he seems to catch on though and heads straight across the room for us, managing to land a blow since he only had to dash once. We try and use the same plan, but our last arrow of Ilmater misses, so we settle for zipping away trying to get that forced double dash and healing up. Our angel also gets dismissed to make sure he can't heal off of them. Once again, the double dash doesn't get forced though, and we're starting to get worried, especially since if he breaks our concentration, we're completely done for. So we get our standard blows in, chipping away at his health, and decide to distance ourselves a little bit further this time just to be sure. But as we fly across the room, the unthinkable happens. The few extra meters of safety net we give ourselves causes initiative to break, and before we can do anything, Sarevok fully heals. I was heartbroken. I did not know how to deal with this. I didn't want to take a rest and refresh our resources since I prefer to do fights all in one go, but it was also a very long fight and I didn't want to just give up either. So, not knowing what to do, after our haste and potion of flying ran out, we just walk back up to him and he treats us like we were caught trespassing, and the fight resumes with us down on resources and morale. We go for Tash's hideous laughter, and to the shock of no one, it doesn't work before using Step of the Wind dash to move pretty far away, though not as far, obviously. We measure out roughly 38 meters, and thankfully that was enough to force the double dash without breaking initiative. On our next turn, we start up a cycle of punching him and downing potions of speed whenever we need, before moving away as far as we could. Thelonious isn't always able to move far enough away, but Sarevok seems to be taking pity on us, and he misses a surprising amount of attacks. We try mixing in the odd spell scroll here and there to slow him down, but the guy is practically unstoppable. Only once we down a potion of flying and use it to move out a measured 38 meters give or take, are we able to reliably force the double dash. To force him to move a bit more awkwardly, we also take out this ladder, which definitely helps an insane amount. It practically wins the fight on its own. Eventually though, we run out of speed pods, so we throw down a haste spore grenade we got in Act 1 to essentially give us one more turn of haste and safely remove it without becoming lethargic. Thankfully from here we learn with the ladder gone we are more than fast enough to force reinforce the double dash with just a potion of flying. Thank God for that ladder being breakable. And over the course of what felt like eons, we whittle away at his health until at last, with a bomb and a terrible camera angle, we blow up a proper supervillain and prove ourselves the fastest in the land. I guess you could say he really gave us a run for our money. We yoink the loot from his corpse along with the amulet we need to get into Orin's actual hideout, free the nearby imprisoned detective who properly praises our heroism, and go at last to rescue that girl Orin kidnapped. Thelonious arrives just in the nick of time, in typical heroic fashion, and tells Orin to unhand the girl before, well, yeah, before that happens. Whoops. Absolutely enraged, we start the fight against Orin and get ready to obliterate her. We go in with Celestial Haste and an Elixir of Heroism active. And we've got a plan. On our first turn, we don't do much past use Wholeness of Body for an extra bonus action and head up the stairs. This makes Orin in Slayer form dash and jump on up to us. So on our next turn, we use the Artistry of War scroll we got from Leroican to deal 6 guaranteed hits to Orin, reducing her unstoppable stacks. We followed up with a Magic Missile scroll for 3 more as well. With our first bonus action, we use Flurry of Blows, reducing her down to 1 last stack, and with our final bonus action, we get rid of said stack and push her off all in one fell swoop. After that, it's not hard to dismantle the rest of these child murderers one by one. We weren't able to save poor Yenna, but we were able to make sure the boorish Ballast won't be claiming any more victims. The final stone we need to destroy the Nether Brain is acquired at the same time, but before we do that, we've got to take care of some other villainous hives. While we're wandering through the city, we come across the Devil's Fee. The owner implies she can open up a portal to hell, and it's high time we take care of our old fiendish nemesis who keeps popping up. So we get the jump on the portal proprietor and take her out lickety-split. She does conjure up a gazillion golden goons though, but they go down too easy enough. In addition to getting everything we need to make the portal, we also get enough experience for level 12, and with it our final feat. One last ability score improvement, bumping our wisdom up to 18 and his modifier up to +4, increasing our damage, armor class, and saving throws all at once. Feeling wiser than ever before, we pop open the portal and make our way into the House of Hope. Upon entering, we meet the source of all genuine heroism, Hope herself, who's being imprisoned and battered by Raphael. She asks us to grab the Orphic Hammer and free her. Thelonious, already enraged by recent events, goes on a rampage through the house, slaughtering all of the demonic denizens along the way and also grabbing quite a bit of loot. Notably, we grab the Helldusk Helmet, which is a surprise tool that will help us later, a key to Raphael's hidden safe wherein we find a magic passcode, and the Amulet of Greater Health. This amulet sets our constitution to 23, massively increasing our max HP, and it also gives advantage on con saving throws, basically meaning we'll never lose concentration, aside from also boosting our survivability to an insane degree. In between fights, we've been using Raphael's Bath to give us all the benefits of a long rest at just the click of a button, and we make sure to do so again here. Before heading over to the archives and using the magic passcode we got earlier to release the Orphic Hammer. Now I've just got to free Hope and get out of here, so we head to the basement where she's being imprisoned and get into a tussle with her guards. With the help of this little doorway, we can just poke our head out and shoot before running back into cover. We do this for a little while and all these multi-eyed monsters don't stand a chance. And with a whack here and a bit of a whack there, we free Hope, who definitely has the right spirit of things. Here's hoping we can get out before Raphael catches on. Oh no, we did not get out before Raphael caught on. We've made it this far though, and we're not gonna slow down now. Come on, villain, let's throw hands. Oh good god, wait, hold up a second, that was too fast, man, you gotta give me a moment. Okay. So attempt 1 didn't go great. We prep attempt 2 by going in with a Bloodlust Elixir and Protection from Evil and Good on ourselves, so the enemies have disadvantage on hitting us. And we've also got Wulbrin's Hammer equipped, which we grabbed in Act 2 since it deals bonus force damage to objects, which the pillars are vulnerable to. To make sure Hope doesn't die, we also throw down a Potion of Invisibility on her so she never actually enters combat, and we use Wholeness of Body before charging into the fight. This time around, only Yurgir goes before us, and he completely whiffs. Thelonious starts with a Potion of Speed since we'll definitely be needing it, before using a Flurry of Blows on one of the pillars, massively damaging it, and with a couple more swings with our hammer, the first one is down already. With each pillar that falls, Raphael gets weakened since each one grants 1d12 extra Hellfire damage, as well as a +3 to Dexterity. Not to mention he can use them to heal, as well as fuel his powerful spells such as the one he one-shot us with last time. To keep ourselves alive, we use a Reflecto Guard to make all projectiles bounce off of us for a round, and we get one less Flurry of Blows on the next pillar over. The reflection works perfectly on both the infernal lackeys and their master, actually dealing quite a lot of damage to the latter. On our next turn, we finish off the second pillar with a flurry of blows and use our reaction attack from our robes to trigger our extra attack, which we use to throw down a potion of flying, which lets us zoom across the room, and with another flurry and a good hammer whack, we take out a third pillar too. We try and refresh our Reflecto Guard so we have it for this round too, but our Reflecto Guard reflects it and just does nothing instead. So we settle for a couple good thwacks on the last pillar and call our turn there. Raphael has his turn skipped as he de-transforms from his ascended mode, and all the other enemies whiff too. This gives us plenty of time to take out the last pillar with another flurry before zooming down to take out Corilla and trigger our elixir, and we wail on Raphael with some very hopeful stunning strikes which don't really pan out. But we fly out of the room and use our last haste spore grenade to pull the same trick we did against Saravok, ending the hasted condition without becoming lethargic. From here, it's classic hit and run goodness, with Thelonious doing his best impression of that one really annoying mosquito you can't get rid of by slowly taking out the enemies one by one over the course of the next few rounds, making sure to not deal radiant damage since they reflect that. We do get bashed around a bit here and there, but without his soul pillars, Raffi can't really take us out in one turn, which means we can just heal up on our next one. It doesn't take us long to thin out the horde and leave just the devil himself. Thelonious goes full speedster with celestial haste, and we bet a fist of gold against Raphael's soul and prove we're better than him. Oh yeah, and Hope has a showdown with Yurgir, but he just gets yeeted out of the house and now he's someone else's problem. Hope is saved at last, and it's only fitting it was Thelonious that did it, proving himself a proper hero, for it is truly Hope that he inspires with every speedy stride he takes. Besides just a storybook ending, we also get the gloves of soul catching as a reward, finally completing our supersuit. These gloves increase our unarmed damage by 1d10 force, as well as let us regain 10 hit points per turn when we hit, or gain advantage on an attack roll or saving throw between when we hit and to the end of our next turn. It also boosts our con by 2 up to a max of 20, but thanks to our amulet that effect is pointless. And these will be replacing our bracers of defense that we got way back when, but with this amount of damage and healing we're well past needing the extra AC. Our rage against evil seems to have gotten the best of us there for a bit, so we decide to head to therapy before we take on the final fight. Well, here we get asked what our unspoken desire is, and I mean, if we're being honest, it's gotta be this one. Our therapist seems to think that we mean it metaphorically though, and also tries to recruit us to a cult. Oh god, why is it always a cult? What's a man gotta do to get some honest to god therapy in this city? Knowing that we're about to fight some shadow-stricken Sharans, we throw on our Helldusk helmet that we picked up earlier to make us immune to blindness. Alright, let's get this over with. There's a whole lot of them, but it basically just means we have to step of the wind disengage and get our punches in where we can each turn before jumping to the opposite side of the room, which forces all of them to dash as hard as they can every single round. The whole process gets sped up greatly once we use a Scroll of Cloudkill to deal some good AoE damage. Their leader Viconia goes down pretty fast, and with quite a few more murderous miasmas conjured up on these lackeys, we thin down the horde, and eventually punch the remainder when it seems that'd be faster. Well, you know, that actually was pretty therapeutic to dismantle one more cult for old time's sake. We sacrifice Viconia's shield to the altar at the end of the room to gain access to the employee-only room, wherein we find a cool-looking mirror back there, but before we head there, we head to a secret side passage to read up on what it does. Then we go chat with the mirror, and thanks to our reading, we get to skip the first check, and we make the second one easily enough. Once we make it, we get to take a temporary -2 to 1 stat in exchange for a permanent +2 to our dexterity, further increasing our most valuable stat, raising it up to a 22 and a +6 modifier. To get rid of the temporary loss, we just take a wee nap, and when we wake up, Thelonious has a hankering to beat up one final supervillain. We head straight down to the sewers where we find the Netherbrain hanging out in all the stank water, preparing to make its move. It pulls us into its psyche where it reveals that this was his master plan all along, to gain control of Karsus's crown. And despite Thelonious' best efforts, the stones don't do a darn thing. Before the big bad brain can finish us off, our tentacled teammate shows up and pulls us to safety just in time. While we regroup and re-strategize, our final foe begins to enact their perilous plan, plunging the city into chaos. Thelonious takes this opportunity to finally free Orpheus, causing the Emperor to immediately join the side of the villains, like he was just waiting for an excuse. Orpheus, however, is a bit more understanding and decides to join us as an ally for the final showdown, even taking it upon himself to transform into his most hated enemy so that he can wield the stones properly and defeat the brain. Now that's a hero. The two of us arrive just in time to see everything going to heck and back, as well as in time for this guy's speech to all of our friends we made along the way. Oh hey Withers. Then we charge headfirst into an actual army because we know even they can't stop us at this point. It doesn't take us too long at all to defeat said army either. With the army out of the way, we're in the home stretch. We just need to make it to the top, and since Orpheus can levitate, it takes him but a moment to get there, triggering the cutscene and teleporting us up as well. Before we climb the brainstalk, we throw down a potion of invisibility on the both of us so we can skip any enemies that get in our way. We make the grueling ascent with footage slowed down so the human eye can see Thelonious, of course, and once at the top we creep up to the crown and use the stones to open up a portal. The moment we end Thelonious' turn, the portal opens up to the one place where we know we can take out the brain. It's Psyche. Once we're in, we throw down a potion of speed and a potion of flying, letting us zip down to Orpheus, who gives us fierce perilous stakes, granting an extra 15 psychic damage on each hit and also making it so we crit on a 15 or higher. You know what's next. Time for a good old-fashioned pummeling. Hit and run minus the run, and while we don't get the brain on our first round, it simply cannot keep up with Thelonious. But then again, who can? Our fellow superhero commands the brain to end itself once and for all, along with all Illithid related threats that it's controlling, and just like that, the world is saved. But the world isn't the only one in need of saving. Orpheus can't stand his new form a minute longer and asks us to free him of it. Thelonious, however, sees hope. And with one last roll and one last nat 20, Thelonious saves just one more life, as any hero would. Thank you all so much for watching. Here's the stats for this act, and thanks to Raid as well for sponsoring this video, letting me focus more on making content and not starving. Make sure to use the link in the description as well as the promo codes to get all your free champions. Special thanks to our Storyteller tier members Bunny Warren and Player 5 too. I always feel a little bittersweet when a run ends, but we'll be starting up a new one the day after this video releases as a Lonewolf Illithid power only run, no mods or anything. If you want to see how it works out, make sure to tune in and join our Discord. There's a link in the description below. Thank you all so very much again, and have a good day.